lost in deep space, feeling the cosmic horror of our small place in a vast universe. I'm FX, and we're here today to make a broken pad sound. A pad sound that reflects the feelings of cosmic horror. And this is what it sounds like. You feel like you just stumbled across a batch of xenomorph eggs? I do. And that's a mysterious, spooky feeling I kind of enjoy. Today we're looking at the Hydrasynth Explorer, and I gotta say, there are very few synthesizers on the market in this form factor at this price that have this much modulation. And today, that's what I want to demonstrate, is how I use the modulation on this to make dark, doomy, sad sounds. What I want to do today is create a broken pad sound just using what comes on the Hydrasynth. No external effects, no nothing. And I'm gonna use all 5 of the LFOs to do something, all 5 of the envelopes to do something, and the Polyphonic Aftertouch. Let's just get into it. We're gonna start with a basic init, which sounds like this. Yeah. Not much to it. So what's the first thing I do when creating a pad sound? All right, well, I'm going to go to the envelope for the amp, and I'm going to take that envelope and I'm going to increase the attack time, and we're going to do the same thing for the release. So now it sounds like. That's the first thing I do when I'm creating a pad. I make that attack really long, I make that release long. I will also do this for the envelope that is opening the filter. So what I need to do is go to filter. I need to page down here to envelope 1 amount. Maximum 64, I'm gonna put it at 45, okay? So this envelope is going to turn this knob for me. Now, by default on the init patch, we are only hearing oscillator 1. I'm going to put that level down a little bit because I'm going to bring in these other 2 oscillators. So now our sound is going to be much thicker. I'm going to slightly detune these. The waveforms, since they're slightly detuned, are phasing against each other, which gives it that really rich sound. I'm going to set LFO 1 here to slightly wiggle the tuning on oscillator 1. What's great about this panel design is that if I hold this down and click here, I automatically go to the mod matrix and it's already pointing LFO 1 to oscillator 1 pitch. So exaggerate that just for the sake of demonstrating what this is doing. So I'm going to bring this down. Let's see what it is at 1. Okay, I like that. Let's do the same thing for oscillator 2 with LFO 2. I'm going to make this one, let's just do random. Let's go to boom. We're going to push this up. What's great about having this many modulators is that you've got a ton of wiggle room to have modulators modulate modulators. So what I want is, as this opens up, I want the pitch modulation on oscillator 2 to increase in depth. I want it to become more dramatic. Let's just point our amp envelope so it's following the same trajectory as the amp opening up. So to do that, I need to modulate mod slot 2. So we're gonna go here and I'm gonna find that. So now as the pad gets louder, this pitch modulation should become more dramatic. Yeah, it definitely does that. But I don't want just the depth to become more dramatic. I want the speed of the modulation to become more dramatic. So I'm going to go to my next slot here. And again, I'm going to pick envelope 2, and now it's, instead of it modulating the mod source, I'm going to have it modulate the rate here. So now, to reset, as this envelope activates, as our sound, because this is affecting the amp as well, as our sound gets louder, the pitch modulation on 2 is going to become bigger jumps in pitch as that random LFO works, and the speed of those changes is going to increase as well. All right, cool. And then, another thing that can really push a broken pad sound is a tremolo effect. And that can be created just by dipping the mix of one of these oscillators up and down. So I'm going to do that with LFO 3. And I'm going to set that to the mix on oscillator 2. All right, you see that coming in and out? Bear with the process. We're going to get to something really cool here. So I'm going to push the rate on that. I'm going to go back to my mod matrix for that one. I'm going to make that less of a dramatic tremolo effect. So it's just going to be a little bit. But now I'm going to set the Aftertouch to increase the speed of that tremolo effect. Well, let's do polyphonic Aftertouch. So it's going to be on a per key basis. This is going to be more apparent if I make the depth of that tremolo more dramatic. All right, that's cool, and that's going to be on, it's going to vary depending on how hard I press on each key. So if I just do these two, see, I can do it on a per key basis. So we've used 3 LFOs, 2 envelopes. So let's use envelope 3. Let's do one of these mutants. These are just oscillator modulation options from sync to pulse width. There's a lot of interesting options in here. I'm going to go to oscillator 1, and I'm going to go to wave stack, which makes this like super saw effect. Demonstrate that. If I put down the mix on these two, you'll hear it better. All right, so I want envelope 3 to affect the depth of that. So I'm going to press envelope 3. I'm going to press mutant 1. I'm going to change this to depth, and I'm going to max it out. I'm going to look at my envelope 3 shape. I'm going to make it a similar attack as that. And I'm going to have it sustain and then abruptly stop. Bring back these two sounds. For me at this point, I want to start hearing what the effects are going to do. I know I'm going to want a reverb on this. Let's do plate. I'm going to put the mix a little past halfway, and I'm going to make it have a long decay time around 5 seconds. This is not feeling sad enough yet. One of my favorite things is putting some bit crushing on these types of sounds before they hit the reverb. So the cool thing about achieving that bit crush effect is I don't even have to use this PREFX slot. It is built in with each one of the oscillators. You just go to this page where it says bit redux. So the lower that number, the more you can see they're giving us a representation of the waveform. It's just making it more aliased. We can also bring in some noise. So let's have Let's do that with the filter envelope. We're going to bring up noise. There's just that washed feeling. All right, for our PREFX, let's do a LOFI effect. So I like to make the, when I'm messing around with effects like this, I like to make the it fully wet just so I can dial in the sound. Let's crush the sampling. So by bringing the sampling down, we add to that kind of bit crushing thing we've got going on with the oscillators. I can modulate that, so let's do that with envelope 4. Let's just make it the dry wet. So now we should hear that PREFX on the lo-fi come in. What do we got here? We've done envelope 4. Have we done LFO 4? No, we're gonna do LFO 4. I'm gonna have that modulate amp level, and I'm gonna have it come down. So now we're doing that tremolo effect on the whole sound. Yeah, I like that. I want that to be another Aftertouch effect. Since I have that depth locked in where I like it here, which is this, I want to build to that with an Aftertouch. So I'm going to affect the level of the LFO. So I'm going to bring the level to 0, go back to the mod matrix, pick a new slot, assign it to Poly Aftertouch. I'm going to set the destination as LFO 4 level, and I'm going to put it to maximum. So now, and that tremolo effect kind of really gives this thing a lot of emotion. I wonder if we have this LFO slightly modulating time, what that would do. So let's go here, time, let's make it small. All right, that's too much. Let's make this a very slow rate. We still have a filter here we haven't touched. Let's make it a notch, and we'll have this notch jump around randomly, and to do that we're going to use our random LFO, which is 3. So this pad sounds like it's crying to me. When I have a pad like this, I don't even want to play chords sometimes because it's got so much modulation happening. This is obviously subjective, all music is, but this pad feels sad and alive to me. Do you feel like you're adrift in space? I do. So there you have it, guys. My scary cosmic horror pad I hope you were able to follow along and it made sense. So again, I'm Doom SFX. I've got music out wherever you get your music. I've got other videos up on YouTube here demonstrating gear, demonstrating some of my process and sound design and music making. We're going to leave it there. And yeah, here's just some sounds of this pad we just created.